What's up guys, welcome back to the channel. Today I have a pretty awesome review for you. Another fixed wing, but this time it's kind of like a hybrid. It's elevons, but a vertical stabilizer, no elevator in the very back. Normally, traditionally you'd see a T-tail back there, but this is a shortened fuselage with twin motor setup and 4 different spaces in there for flight controller options. Each space has a 30 by 30 spot and a 20 by 20 spot. So yeah, one of the biggest type of bays that I've seen on any type of long range aircraft. You can make this a short range setup, or you can make it long range, or you can make it a line of sight flyer. What's really nice is they have dual motors on this plane that come together in the middle, and you're going to plug it into either your own XT60 or XT30, or you could do the Reptile Dragon board right here. This is a PDB, also has pots on here, be able to change the gain on the sensitivity of the stability mode. It has multiple different flight modes on here you can set up on a switch, similar to the ZOHD Kopilot but without GPS. So I'm not going to be using this one on this particular plane in this demo. What I really wanted to do is find out if the ZOHD Kopilot that I had previously flown on my 250G, check this out, see the size difference of the 250G and the Reptile Dragon. Look at that. This is a little 20-inch wingspan, super portable, short to medium range type of plane with ZOHD Kopilot on here, GPS, all the bells and whistles. And we tested that one and the modes work perfectly, but what I was interested to do is take ZOHD Kopilot and put it on something else that was not ZOHD branded and see if I can make it also work on a twin motor setup and see how return to home would be affected. It should work exactly like I think it's going to work. It should work perfect and bring the plane back to its original point and loiter around the home point when we activate return to home. Now what's also cool about this plane is it is a hybrid wing setup. It has a vertical stabilizer in the back, but it has no elevator on the very back with your traditional T-tail type of setup most airplanes have. This plane has a shortened fuselage, a 48-inch wingspan right here, and that's 4 feet across. So it has a pretty nice big wing. It's also pretty wide, and what that does for this plane is it gives it an excellent glide ratio. When I was flying it out in the field, my friend Colby was there and he was looking at it and he was like, man, don't go too slow because I think you're going to stall out. But actually I kept it at a really nice straight ahead glide with my GoPro in the front, all the gear on there. And what's extra cool about this is it has a very low stall ratio, but also since it has such a nice wing that is wide enough, it has a glider characteristic to it. So you can slow it down a lot, which also means you can conserve battery like crazy. So getting on the bottom end of your stick around 35% throttle, you can keep the nose up. And for long range guys, that's awesome, because what that allows you to do is you can use a 3S3000 in this, get your CG right. The CG is about 45 to 48 millimeters behind the leading edge, and you're going to mark it out here just past this connection point right here for your control surface. Mark it with a marker. You're going to use your calipers to measure back that far, and once you get your CG right, this plane will definitely get 20 minutes flight time, which is great. So 20 minutes flight time, you've got a 2205 motor, 2300 kV, 6-inch prop on here, and I believe it was a 6x2, so it's not super aggressive. They are bullnose. You could switch these out to some more tapered end 6-inch props. There are some out there, and I'll try to put some links down below. But let's go ahead and pop the top real quick, and let me show you inside the plane, because I think you're going to be impressed with how much room there is inside here and how much you can play with the CG on this plane, putting different batteries in it. That's kind of awesome. You also have the option to use your FPV camera up front. They give you this little piece of foam right here. You can put your full-size FPV camera or micro camera in here. Just put a little dab of hot glue on each side and then slide this forward, and you could either put your FPV camera here or up top. And I like to have mine up top because I wanted my GoPro here. This is also another hatch. This is a hatch, and this is a little air vent. You also have air vents on the side and also coming out the back. But let's go ahead and let me show you the inside of the plane. It's super awesome. Okay, now you guys can see down inside the cargo bay, and check this out. There is that first slot in the very back, second, third, and fourth up here. You also have multiple different strap mount points. So if you want to put your battery strap here, you can do it here, 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 and here. And also there's another piece up front here if you want to add a strap and put your battery all the way forward. If you're not running a GoPro in here, you might need to bring your battery further forward. If you are running the GoPro, you're going to need to move your battery further back. Now, like I said, you do have multiple battery options. Probably the largest battery that I'd run in this plane would be something like a 3S 4000. I think that the 30 amp ESCs could support 4S, but honestly, I don't feel like I need 4S on this plane. It did actually perform quite well. I launched this plane on 3S battery at about, I'd say, 40% throttle. So yeah, it's pretty powerful with the motor setup on here. Twin usually will take off out of your hands pretty quickly, but it is nice that you have the option to run a larger battery, or you can lighten it up if you want, and you can still get 15 minutes out of a 3S 2200 battery, and my CG for that was about right here with the GoPro in there. So without the GoPro, I took my 3S 2200 and put it all the way forward. So the nice thing is that 3S 2200 is fairly traditional out in the fixed wing community, and most of us have a ton of those laying around, which I do. So I had plenty of batteries, and I was able to squeeze close to 15 minutes out of a 3S 2200. But the battery of choice for this plane for me would be the 3S 3000 milliamp with the XT60 on there, because that was pushing me up to the 20-minute mark, down to about 10.8 volt. And I was running the battery fairly low, and I kept it in close to the field, but I was able to squeeze 20 minutes, which is awesome. So tons of options. Also on the bottom of the wing, I got to show you this before we go out and fly. You have carbon cover plates over top of your 30 amp ESCs. You have a carbon mounted motor here. So there's 4 M3 screws right through here, through a carbon plate into this industrial plastic mount. Wires go back through here, and this is held on by 4 different screws there. You have your other multiple option for cameras to mount to the bottom of the wing here, and you have that other option for mounting on your FPV camera sort of module bay here, which is really cool. They have extra M3 hardware in the box that'll screw right down into these pre-installed little nuts inside the wing. They're already glued in, which is pretty sweet. And they have, it looks like they might have a tunnel through here to run your wires through this way inside the wing if you want to be able to run your VTX wires all the way to the power source. That's pretty cool. So you can do this on both sides of the wing. And also back here on the tail, I thought this was pretty cool. This tail comes off in the box, and you just slide it into place. It does have hardware already inside here. It has 2 M3 nuts that are pre-glued inside the fuselage here next to a piece of into a piece of plywood, and you're going to put your M3 screw through here, straight in through the wall, and it holds the tail on quite nice. There's 2 bolts on each side, so I didn't use any glue here because I wanted to be able to remove it again later, for it to be more optional for storage. When I put my planes away, I usually like to take the wings off and take them apart and put them back in a box for storage. The other thing that I'm going to suggest is that you guys see that I'm using some wing tape. I would put wing tape on all of your wing surfaces where you have joints. If you don't want to use glue on them and you want it to be a temporary setup like I do, just use a little bit of that threaded packing tape on here on all of your different connection points on the plane, and that'll keep things nicely together when you're flying. So speaking of flying, let's go head outside and let's do some flying with this plane. I think you're going to be impressed with how long this guy stays up in the air. What I want you to see is right now I'm like just a little shy of 50% throttle, and it's just cruising. Look at that, like hands off, just enough to keep the nose up. And what's cool about this is, as far as long range goes, this can be a super cruiser and give you a really long flight time. I got 20 minutes out of a 3S 3000 milliamp in this plane. Now I'm just going to give it a little more throttle and come up, get some altitude, and we're going to cut the motor completely. A little bit of porpoising there again. So I'm going to kill the throttle completely. This plane glides so well. That's 0 throttle. Look at that. Isn't that cool? So now we're going to go ahead and launch it for the FPV flight test. And you notice just a little bit of porpoising here on that high throttle. The nose comes up and down, bobbing around. And then when I back off the throttle on the plane, it settles out nicely. So right around 50% throttle, if you can get it down to like 40% throttle, you're going to get the best flight time out of this plane. You can do multiple different flight controller options like I was talking about. And today we're testing out the ZOHD Kopilot with GPS. It's all installed on here, set up with the Elevon system, and our GPS return to home worked. I did test it and it works great. It comes back, loiters around the home point, and stabilize mode works on there as well. And you can also fly it in manual mode, and that'll let you do barrel rolls and things like that. The stability mode is actually really nice. Once you get your rates dialed in or your pots dialed in on the flight controller, using the little screwdriver, you can also reverse servos back and forth and control the gain sensitivity of the gyro, which is kind of a neat option. But on my first flight test, this battery was kind of sagging out on me, already down to about 11.2 volts, 11.4 at a really low throttle here. But this is nice because I was able to get the plane down super low along this road, and this has a 4-foot wingspan. Normally I'm not putting planes in down this road that low. So it does have a nice glide ratio, and that's probably the most beneficial part of this plane, is that it's kind of like an FPV wing / glider all in one. The short fuselage on here really does affect high throttle, so you have to watch out for the high throttle above like 60% on this plane. And now we're going to do an unexpected durability test. I took a hard turn, a little too hard, and straight into a winter tree, straight into the branch, broke the motor off, and a little bit of damage, but I was able to get it down without damaging my GoPro, thank God. So that was kind of a good durability test. I hit a tree with it, coming between these two trees right here in the parking lot, just playing around with that low throttle, got excited, and damage report is that I pulled this servo horn off, and that's fixable. This one came off, that's fixable. This one, left motor here, this came completely off the wing, but a little bit of CA, and I can put that back on. So I can make a suggestion for you guys. If this happens to you and you have to put this back on, what you want to do is take a bamboo skewer and just push it all the way through here. Make a nice big hole for some CA, fill up that hole with CA, and push your bamboo skewer in there, and then through this part as well to give it just a little bit of extra kind of durability there and strength. And it should be fine. I broke one prop too, so it hit on that side, but the motor's fine, and the motor mount held up. Carbon fiber motor mount, so I can fix that, get back up in the air. Okay, so I was able to fix it, and now I'm going to use the 3S 3000 milliamp battery, and I'm going to try to achieve 20 minutes. I'm going to record that at the very bottom left hand of the screen. You can see the timer on there, and I launched right about 4 minutes and 30 seconds, so I want you to take that in consideration, and we're going to subtract that from my landing time. I should be able to squeeze 20 minutes out of this plane, mostly because I can cut back on the throttle a little bit and kind of have it glide, save a little bit of amp draw in the battery, and just give us a little longer flight time. There's almost zero wind today for this flight test too, so I don't have any kind of headwind helping me with a little bit of extra lift and glide. That'll keep it up a lot longer if you have just a little bit of wind. Like a 10-mile-an-hour wind really does help out. When you get to a nice high altitude, it'll keep the plane up a little bit longer. Right now I've been up for about a minute, but I'm going to go ahead and chop this up a little bit so that I don't have you sitting here for 20 minutes just watching this long straight ahead flight. But now we're up to 6:48 and minus 4 minutes 30 seconds, still in the early part of the flight right here. But what I realized on my second or third battery with this plane is that when I get to my cruise throttle, it really starts to have that long range type of plane characteristic. And if you're going to use this for aerial mapping, which is kind of what they advertise it for, I see why they advertise it as an aerial mapper. with all of the different flight controller stack options in the center of the fuselage, 4 different mounting points out on the wings. You can put cameras all over this plane, and it's large enough to be able to hold just about any type of mapping, type of cinematography camera. So really nice if you choose to do it for agricultural purposes. And here we're flying over some fields, and it really does make nice lines. It feels like my own little airline here. It's just a really nice straight ahead cruiser. And on that low throttle, super efficient. Now we're up to 9 minutes there, just above 5 minutes on the battery time from takeoff. It does some nice sweeping lines. I'm just going to do a little bit of dive right here, see how it handles a dive. And I'm in stability mode right here on the ZOHD Kopilot, so I'm kind of fighting the dive. It wants to pull the nose up, but we're just going to make it dive anyway. And I don't want to land in this tree, this tall tree right here on the right. I've crashed a glider in that tree before. Had to pay about $300 to get it out. So right now I want to show you the glide ratio. So I'm going to cut the motor again, and we're just going to conserve some battery voltage. You see that the battery voltage goes up when I cut the motor, 11.6 on the resting voltage, and I have my ESC brake set up so that there's absolutely no spinning of the props. And look at how well this plane glides. It's kind of amazing. Getting a little bit low to the ground there, so I'm going to power back up. And keep in mind that the FPV view recorded from my Sky Zone goggles, it's not going to be total real time and in line with what the GoPro's seeing, because the GoPro's recording 60 frames per second at 2.7K versus the I believe 30 frames per second on the DVR, the goggles DVR. It might even be less, actually. It might be 24. So it's not going to line up at the very end, but it's going to keep our time, which we want. We want to know that we can actually get 20 minutes out of a 3S 3000. And honestly, I think it could carry a little bit larger battery. I think your max battery on this plane, I think it could handle a 3S 4000. And we talked about this at the field. I was talking about a 4S battery, and Colby reminded me, well, a lot of times in the past, decade or so, we've flown 3S 2200s on a lot of planes. It's kind of a standard fixed wing battery for park flyer type planes. This is just a little tiny bit bigger than a park flyer, but you can still use that stock 3S 2200 that everybody has, and you should be able to squeeze 10 to 15 minutes out of it, depending on your throttle and your weather conditions. But so far, I'm really happy that the ZOHD Kopilot works flawless in another non-branded ZOHD plane. I was telling some other guy at the field the other day that the ZOHD Kopilot would work on any fixed wing out there, and it's $40 including GPS with 3 flight modes: manual mode, stability mode that you see here, and return to home. And I believe there's 3 different initiations of return to home. There's low battery on a switch and loss of signal return to home. So same as most flight controllers out there. And that's nice because you don't have to use a computer. You don't have to use iNav. Of course, you could put iNav or any other type of flight controller on this plane. You can go crazy with it. Put big boy antennas and send this thing out there 10 miles if you wanted to. People all the time ask me range of fixed wing planes or quads, and honestly it depends on how far you know how to make a plane go. So that's up to you how far the range is on something like this, because you can get it as a kit. You can add your own lower kV motors if you want, but here we are up to 24 minutes and we're about to flip over to 25, and at the 25-minute mark, that means we're above the 20 minutes from takeoff, because we were 4.5 minutes. Very nice. So we're going to get down on the ground right about the 20-minute mark. So there's 25, 30, almost to 25, 30. We're still going. Coming in. 25, 30. There we go. Now we're at the 20-minute mark. Really nice, because we started at 4 minutes and 30 seconds. Very, very awesome. That is what I wanted to get out of this plane. 20 minutes on a 3S3000 is excellent. So excellent for the price, $120 or $122. This plane is a really, really awesome deal and a lot of fun.
Oh man, that was cool. That was cool. I'm happy with this plane. 20 minutes. Twin engine setup, GPS. Yeah.